cannot walk, but we do have 2 feet. As you can see in the picture that our gait is influenced by gravity, momentum, and acceleration and deceleration. They all come into action. Our gait, like that of an aeroplane, consists of 2 phases, the stance phase and the swing phase. The stance phase consists of 60% of the gait cycle, just like the plane landed in and touches the ground. And what about the swing phase? It consists of 40%, as like the plane which takes off and leave the ground, right? Now look at the picture, the lateral aspect. Here we can see that the rotational axis passes from the skull and then through the hip joint and knee joint in its center. But if you focus, it has to pass anterior to the ankle joint. So your ankle joint is less stable than that of your knee and the hip joint, as the line of gravity is supposed to pass anterior to the ankle joint. And when we stand still, let me show you the picture while standing. Now look into the picture. A person is stand at ease. What happens? The feet are slightly apart and you can see a little bit laterally rotated. In this way, what happens? We are relaxed and minimum muscular activity is required, and we are supposed to stand stably, right? Now we have to discuss various phases of the gait. The stance phase, that comprises of 60%, and it starts with that of the initial contact, and we have to focus for this the right leg shown in yellow color, right? Now concentrate one by one. We have to see that the yellow color leg and the feet, you can first imagine that the heel is in contact with the ground, or you can see that this is the heel strike. What is going to happen? Another important thing, the dorsiflexors, they have come into action, and above all the phases of stance phase, they are supposed to preserve your arches of foot, and hence they also involve the stabilization of the pelvis, right? Now concentrate on the second surface in which there is loading response, or you observe the flat foot. Now what is happening? The knee is supposed to be in the extended position, or knee extensors now come into action, like quadriceps, femoris. They are supposed to be locking your knee, and definitely the hip abductors, they will also stabilize the leg as well, and definitely our intrinsic muscle of the feet have to preserve your longitudinal arches of the foot, right? Now concentrate on the next phase, which is mid stance. Now what is happening actually here? The knee is completely stabilized and knee extensors are supposed to work, and here you can see that the whole weight is over this straightened or extended limb is occurring, or you can say that the knee extensors, hip abductors, and other muscles are supposed to stabilize your pelvis and of course maintain the longitudinal arches. Now see the terminal stance. Here what we have to focus, that if you concentrate again on that leg, what you see here, the heel is taking off from the ground. We can call that all the mass has supposed to accelerate, and what is going to happen? The ankle plantar flexor, they come into action along with the hip abductor. Why? Because they have to stabilize your pelvis, and the intrinsic muscles of your feet, they are supposed to stable your foot arches, right, along with the long tendons of foot, including tibialis posterior and long flexor tendons of the foot, right? Now see here and concentrate on the pre-swing phase, right? What is going to happen? Concentrate that your toe is off the ground or is supposed to leave the ground. This is the last phase of stance phase, right? And we can see that the plantar flexors, they have come into action, and as your body mass is accelerating, or we can see the whole body is supposed to move forward. Now your foot arches are supposed to be preserved as previously, and all with the help of, you would say, long flexors of your foot, intrinsic muscles and long tendons, they are supposed to take part. Can I name them? These are tibialis posterior, and you can also see that leg other muscles like flexor hallucis longus and flexor digitorum longus take part. And there is another important thing, which is that your intrinsic muscles are avoiding the fanning out of your foot with the help of adductor hallucis, right? Okay, before finishing the stance phase, I have to tell you that the initial contact and the pre-swing means the first subphase and the last subphase of the stance phase. They are those short period comprising of 10% each in which your both feet are touching the ground, right? And what is going to happen during this? Weight is being transferred from one side of the body or one foot to the other side of the body. So this is very important that we should emphasize the importance of double support. What it means? The double support, that your both feet are in contact with the ground. So that is the 10% part of your stance phase, this one and this one, showing the double support. And in between these, which is just 40%, here your one feet is touching the ground and other is not. So keep in mind the differences, that this is the period where single support is present, right? And here we can add another important thing, that during walking, the gravity and momentum are just help, and they will make us to move, right? And we need minimal exertion, and so physical fitness is there, but muscle exertion is least that is required, because all the work is done by the gravity and momentum. But in case of running, what is happening? That the double support time, which we have discussed earlier, that time is reduced, and the stance phase overall is also reduced, because no period of double support rather is there, right? Now concentrate that in the initial swing, what is going to happen? That first of all the knee flexes, then comes the dorsiflexion of your foot, and these two will shorten the limb as it swings forward, right? This is very important regarding this initial swing phase, right? Now what do you see here? That now the knee, this is supposed to extend in this, let me mark it, in this mid swing phase. This is supposed to now extend, and momentum of the thigh has to be maintained. What else is there? Now the dorsiflexor, they are doing their maximum work, and the muscle tibialis anterior is in its full form, you would say. And as we know that the flexors of the hip, they are supposed to work as well, and which is being done by the iliopsoas and the rectus femoris. You can see them to work here, right? Now, as you can see that your feet are supposed to clear the ground, right, in this initial swing and the mid swing. Now, what is going to happen? Let me mark that in the terminal swing phase, the last part of major swing phase. What is happening? That the hip extensors, right, they are supposed to work, right? Now, along with the hip extensors which are working, what else is there? The knee flexors are also coming into action because they contract eccentrically at the end to decelerate or lessen the forward movement of your foot or leg. And as the knee extensors like quadriceps, they are contracting to extend the knee, right? And now your leg is ready for heel strike again for the previous stance phase. And then of course loading phase, all the phases are supposed to come back, and they are supposed to absorb shock and save your knee from buckling until full extension supposed to take place, and foot should be ready to be placed on the ground. But here, as you can see that your swing phase is completed, right? Another important thing to be discussed, that when a person is moving or level walking, what happens? Your hip extensors and concentric hip flexion and knee extension, they rather play a minor role, right? But on fast walking, like on uphill or upstair walking, these all muscles work effectively and actively. And along with it, if a person is moving downstairs or downhill movement, so the muscle role is increased in its movement and they actively perform their work, as eccentric contraction is very much necessary for the deceleration as well, right? Now we have to revise the various phases. Concentrate that first of all there lies the initial contact, or you can see the heel strike, right? Now in the next picture, the next phase is the loading response, when your feet is showing its flat nature or flat foot is occurring. Then you enter into you can say that this is basically the mid stance phase. And if we move towards the next picture, we can see that here the terminal stance or heel off is being shown. Then we enter into the last subphase. Here toe off is supposed to take place, right? And in this way we complete the 60% of the stance phase, right? And you can see the swing phase, the initial and the mid swing and the terminal swing. Now you are ready for again to start the stance phase, right? Let me repeat that the initial contact, which occupies the 10% and forms the double support time, and the last where the toe off is there, again giving the double support 10% time of the stance phase, right? A very simple picture. You can see the heel strike in the first picture. Then comes the stance phase. Then you can see that heel or push off is there. And we have skipped the toe off later. Rather, you can see the swing phase, right? A simple dummy is showing the main feature of the gait cycle. Here you can again highlight the picture to see various features. The heel strike you can see, then the mid stance, right, and the toe or heel off, is that? Okay, this picture is showing the initial contact to the loading response. First picture is showing the heel strike. Here what is happening, the dorsiflexor of the ankle, they have come into action. Knee extensors you can see, and also the hip extensors will work. And now we have to move towards the loading response. You can see the flat foot, knee fully extended, right? So many muscles of your lower limb, they have to work together. Let's read that the hip extends slightly, the knee is flexing, and the ankle is trying to plant a flex until what happens, that we are touching the ground, and now we need to generate energy to extend the hip, right? In this way we move on towards the next phase. As in this picture you can see the pre-swing phase, right? That heel off is there and a person is ready for swing phase, right? This is the initial swing. You can see the acceleration is the phenomena occurring in your limb, right? This is the mid swing. Still your foot clearance is happening but very small because we have to conserve energy during this phase, right? And now this is the terminal swing, right, which is a deceleration. Here we have to slow down the advancing or forward moving extremities, right? And this is the story of your gait cycle, right?